Hello, I want to welcome you back to God, Family, and Trapping Podcast. This is your host, Jamie Blakely. I know it's been a few weeks since I've had a episode of the podcast up. We've been super busy. We did a lot of conventions, and then I had a lot of catching up to do once we got back. But I am, for the most part, caught up with orders and starting to get more caught up with getting some stock done and inventory made up. But, trapping season starts for us here in a couple of days. Not sure when I'll be able to start. I know we got some rain coming in this weekend, so I might be looking at trying to put some traps out on Monday or Tuesday of next week. But we will have to see how that goes. But anyway, I hope everybody's been doing good. I know a lot of states have already started the trapping season. Here in Missouri, like I said, we got a couple more days until we start. On Facebook and stuff, I've seen lots of people that are already having great success with their trapping lines. It's good to be able to have something like Facebook where you can get on and see how good everybody's doing in their lines and just kind of see how everybody traps. I got some friends in New Mexico. They mostly use cage traps there. I think that's the law now. I'm not sure. I think they're not allowed to use footholds anymore. Or no, they're in Arizona. And they use cage traps. And I know they catch a lot of bobcats up there. So it's cool seeing the videos and the pictures of all the cats and fox and stuff that they catch up there. So it's that time of year where everybody's going to start, getting their, first catches of the season. It's always exciting. But anyway, I think last week I got all my traps done up and they're all dyed and ready to go. I still got a few wolf fang anchors and stuff like that I got to get going, get built, so I'll be ready. But, that won't take too much time. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for listening in, and we're going to open up with a little prayer, and then I got some verses that I want to read before we really get started with this. So, we're going to go ahead and open up with a prayer. Lord, I want to thank you for allowing me to put this episode together today, and I just want to ask you to, keep your hands and your eyes on everybody listening today and just be with them as they go about the rest of their week and their weekend, and just please help keep everybody safe. And what problems everybody's having, what situations they're going through, anything, the health problems they or their family might be having. Just please be with them and help guide them as they go about their time. In Jesus' name, amen. So anyway, today, the scripture I have, normally I just, I would have one or two verses to read, but today I got, I think 9 that I'm going to read. It's out of John chapter 14. I'm going to read verses 1 through 9. It says, "Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go ye know, and the way ye know." Thomas said unto him, "Lord, we know not whither thou goest, and how can we know thy way?" Jesus saith unto him, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. If ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also. And from henceforth ye know him, and have seen him." Philip said unto him, "Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us." Jesus said unto him, "Have I been so long time with you, that ye hast thou not known me, Philip? He hath seen me, hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, show us the Father?" So, that was John chapter 14, verses 1 through 9. Jesus is kind of explaining, what heaven is. Like, there's mansions that God has for us that of all came to Jesus and repented of our sins and asked Him into our hearts. And, we get saved, and the only way to that is through Jesus. And, I hope everybody gets saved. Hope everybody's got somebody in their life, whether they're going to church or, just have a friend or a family member that can, they can read the Bible together, they can study the Bible, and just get to know Jesus and get to know the Lord. Because I'm telling you, once you give your life over to the Lord and to Jesus, you will start seeing changes in your life that are just awesome, It's hard to explain it, and sometimes it's even hard to notice until some time goes by and you can sit back and think, I'm definitely glad that God was with me through that, because I really needed His help. I might not have noticed it then, but I'm definitely glad He was with me. There's been many times in the last year and a half, where, I'm glad that God was with me, because there's many times that, we didn't think we was going to make it through, or problems faced us that we didn't know if we was going to get over them. And, God works in mysterious ways, and He always finds a way to get you through. You just have to keep your trust and your faith in Him, and, He will be there with you. So that's the scripture that I had today. I hope that helps somebody out. If you guys have any questions, or you just want to say something to me, feel free to reach out through email at blakelystrapping@gmail.com, or you can message me on Facebook or any of that. I got YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that. You guys can feel free to reach out to me on that. You can go on the website and email me from there. Feel free to reach out to me. But anyway, like I said, trapping season is getting pretty close for all of us. Some of you guys, it's already started. I'm pretty excited. I know in my area, a lot of the trappers I know, they don't really get out there and start until after Thanksgiving, or maybe even, mid-December. But I was looking at our weather forecast, and they're calling about mid next week that the highs are going to be in the 40s, and we got I think Wednesday or Thursday next week, we got a chance of some snow, which I don't imagine that will happen, but just knowing that cold front's coming, I definitely want to get some traps out before that cold front gets here, because I know that'll have them coyotes and all that up moving, so I definitely want to try to get started by then, at least get a small line out. But anyway, if you guys have any stories or catch pictures or anything, you can go to my Facebook page, Blakely Strapping. Share your pictures on any of my posts in the comments, or just, I have a trapping group called Trapping Life. You guys can join that also and share all your trapping stories, pictures, your success, or really just anything outdoors. I mean, hunting, fishing, it's not really particular. It doesn't have to just be trapping. It will mostly be trapping on there, but feel free to share whatever you want. And that's the group on Facebook is just called Trapping Life. But anyway, the last few conventions we went to, the last one was the Backwater Convention in Bloomfield, which is always a great convention. Great friends. They call it the Convention in the Woods. It's a smaller convention that, I really like it because it gives you more time to, talk to your customers or even other vendors and friends. You get to build more of a personal relationship with people there, and I really enjoy going to that show. We're planning on going next year too, so if you're going to be there, feel free to stop by and talk to us. So, and then before that, we had Oklahoma and Kansas. They were both pretty good shows. We got to meet some cool people. The family, we love traveling. Both our girls really liked it. I think they were getting to where they were pretty tired by the end of it. and ready to just spend time at home because it's pretty rough on them. I think we did 5 conventions in a row, 5 weekends in a row. We did conventions, so they were definitely ready to spend some time at home. But yeah, it's been a great time. I love conventions. We're been home now. I think it's been about 3 weeks since we were at the Bloomfield convention, and I'm trying to get everything caught up. I think I've got most of the baits and lures and all that caught up. The trapping poles. I'm just I'm really amazed at how well that's doing this year. I've had lots of people already send me pictures and stuff of the success they've been having, and how much the pole's helping them out. And, I think I'm right around, we've sold about 350 poles this year since I bought the business in January. They're in about every state now, and we also have a dealer in Canada, so I know there's some people up there that have them, and I'm looking forward to getting some feedback from them this year and how they work up there for some of the bigger animals, the more furred up animals. And that's just super exciting to know that something that I built with my own hands is helping so many people on their lines. It's pretty cool to see that, and it also gives me the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, get to know a lot of people. A lot of the people that I've talked to on Facebook, I've got to meet at the conventions, and that's also a really big reason why I do love going to the conventions, is getting to talk to these people and building a close relationship. And it's just really cool. I feel blessed to be able to do a lot of these things, and the fact that I get to bring my family with me and that they enjoy it, that just means so much more. I really, really enjoy it. But anyway, yeah, since we've been back, I've been getting more focused on getting more involved back into the fire department and to our church. And that's since I've been dealing with my wound. I think we started dealing with that around October last year. Or September. I think it was September last year. I had my first surgery. Been dealing with that for a little over a year. Wasn't able to do a whole lot at the fire department. And I'm just now starting to get back into, being able to go to trainings and stuff like that. And, I really enjoy being on the fire department. Feeling like I'm, doing more for my community. Being part of the community, I really enjoy that. And, we're starting to get more involved with the church. We went, like I said, to do all the conventions. We wasn't able to be at church, and we missed a lot of their events that they had, or, community cleanups and stuff that they were a part of. So we're working on getting involved with that more again. We started cooking on Wednesday nights for the church. We have our Wednesday night program for the kids. They have classes and stuff, and me and my wife volunteered to start cooking on Wednesday nights to invite anybody from the community to, have dinner with us and hopefully stay for classes and whatnot. Just kind of a community outreach thing that our church has going on. And we're looking forward to doing, more outreach type things in the future that I hope I get to be a good part of. And I've also going to start trying to doing some nuisance trapping around our area and our county. Got listed on the Missouri nuisance trapping website, and I'm going to start advertising a little more on that, trying to build up a, kind of a small nuisance business job, and just trying to get something going, just for the family. I try to do everything I can. I got the bait and lure business going on. I got the trapper's pole business. I've got all my, the YouTube, the Facebook, and all that, kind of my brand, I guess you could call it, going on. And I'm going to start with the nuisance trapping. And I'm hoping to get a small store opened up here at the house for any local people need trapping supplies. I've got a few things in right now for people that just might need some anchors or some dye or wax or some quick links or anything like that, swivels. I got some of that stuff here now, and I'm just try to stay busy. I'm always pretty busy, and I enjoy it. Doing all the trapping stuff, it gives me opportunities to get to meet lots of cool people, and I started doing this podcast. I think this is my 4th episode of it, I believe. They're pretty short podcasts. I really enjoy people listening, and I got to talk to a couple people at the conventions that have listened to the podcast, and that's just really cool. Getting to talk to people about it and telling me how they appreciate it and all that stuff. I try to do my best. I'm not the smoothest talker out there, the most knowledgeable person, but my big goal on this was to talk about trapping for the most part, because that has become a big chunk of my life, is being a trapper and being in the trapping business. But the biggest reason I want to do this is try to share my faith with others and try to reach more people about Jesus Christ, and just do what I can. And that's the name of the podcast, God, Family, and Trapping, is kind of how I list things in my own personal life. Sometimes it's hard to keep that tier in order the way it needs to be, where you're putting God first before anything, and then your family, your spouse, your kids, and then everything else can be after that. Your hobbies, your work, all that stuff. But if you get one of those out of line, it makes for a hard life. If you take God of your, you look at the way the world is right now, the schools and stuff like that. You take God out of the schools, and look what a lot of the schools have become. I'm not saying all schools are bad, but there's a big majority of schools that they took the Bible, God, prayer, all that out of the schools, and they're not good schools anymore. And same thing with the house. You take God out of your house, you take prayer out of your house, and you're going to notice, you and your spouse might start fighting more, your kids might start acting up more, you might start struggling financially more. It's all kinds of things. I know it's hard to explain. Like, if you put your faith in Jesus and you put Him first in your life, you're going to see the fruition of that. Like, I'm not saying, if you're a Christian and you put your faith in God and you pray every day, that automatically your life's going to be perfect and everything's going to go right. Because I promise you, there's going to be struggles. God definitely will test you to see how strong your faith is. I can tell you right now, I've been tested a lot, and I'm still being tested to this day. And sometimes it's hard to not want to put my family above God, or going to church, or sometimes, on a Wednesday night, it's easy to say, I don't really want to go to church tonight. I'd like to just stay home, watch a movie with the family, and, we'll just go to church on Sunday. Well, if you do that the one time, the next thing you know, next week you're not going to church on Wednesday night again, because, you're doing something else with the family. Well, then, 3 weeks of that, you realize you're missing Sunday morning church because you've gotten out of that routine, and you're starting to put your family before God. And it's hard to realize that when you're going about it, and then you start realizing things changing. Well, then God's not first in your life anymore. You started putting your family above God. Well, along with that's going to start come struggles. You're going to start maybe struggling financially. well, then you're going to start putting your job before your family. So now instead of, God, your family, and your work, now you have your work, your family, and God. Well, the farther down in order you keep putting God, the harder your life will get. And, sometimes you just have to take a step back and you have to take time away from everything, and just figure out in your life what matters most. If you're putting something in front of God, if you're putting your work in front of your family, your family's going to struggle hard, and it's going to be hard in your house. And once something like that happens, it's easy to end up putting God in the back of the line again. And that's something I've been trying really hard at especially the last 6-7 months, is, trying to keep that tier in order, trying to keep God at the top and my family second, and whatever, whether it be trapping or the fire department or whatever, it's going to be that third spot. So yeah, it's a struggle for me, just like everybody. And you might look at your church, and I've known people that say this, that say they can't go to a church because if they walk, they walk in the door, the walls are going to fall down on them. And that's just, it's one of those sayings that I never quite understood, because if you think everybody in the church is perfect or holier than thou, or whatever words you want to use, you're wrong. Like, if you go into a church, you're going to have all types of people. It's not just, one size fits all kind of thing. You have people that, they're going to have tattoos. They're going to have struggles in life just like you do. There might be some that have been to jail before. You don't know that. You can't walk into a church and just expect, hey, all the deacons, the elders, the pastor, the song leaders, all these people, you can't think they have perfect lives, because everybody started somewhere. Everybody's had struggles in their life, and, they've found Jesus. And, even me, I grew up in church. I went to a church school and everything when I grew up, and I made, some decisions when I was a teenager that, were not what you would say decisions that someone you think grew up in church would make. I'm going to say 4 or 5 years probably, I didn't go to church, like, hardly at all. And, there's lots of things that I did do. I drank, and, there was a while that I smoked and I chewed, and, in the past, I've had a very filthy mouth, and, that's probably one of the things that's been hardest for me to work on, is my mouth. And, cursing is one of those things that, for years I never really thought about how it's wrong, or how what I could say something like that would offend somebody. And now that I realize that, like, that's a big conviction, that the Lord has put on my heart, is trying to not use those words anymore, use that language anymore. And there's still times of frustration that, my tongue gets the better of me. Satan can get that, he can get that through. And, when I do that for a while, I just sit there and think in my head, and it tears me up, like, I shouldn't have said that stuff. I'm very, very convicted over it. And, that's what it's hard, because I've had this conversation with people in the past. You can't, the church is like a hospital. If you're sick, you're hurting, you're dying, the church is where you need to be. You need to be surrounded by people that know what you're going through, that have been through what you're going through. And, people that have put their life in Jesus' hands and have trusted Him, and they've seen what that does in their life and the outcome they've had. You want those people around you that can help guide you in, what steps you need to take, and you need to surround yourself with those type of people. And, this is something I've told lots of people, you are who you hang out with, whether it's your friends, whether it's at work, just anything. If you're around people that drink and you don't drink, eventually you're going to start drinking because that's who you're spending all your time with. And if you're around people that cuss, even if you don't really cuss, you're going to start cussing, and you're going to start, with those filthy jokes and all that stuff, because those are the people you're around. But if you surround yourself with people that are Christians, that are, that are in church, that are, that have given their life to Jesus, that's what you're going to steer your life towards, because you are what you surround yourself with. And, it's hard because there's many times that I find myself in situations that make me feel uncomfortable, whether I walk into a room and there's people, saying a certain joke or talking a certain way, and, in their life, that's just normal. It's not wrong. And, I used to be just like that, to where I wouldn't even think about anybody around me listening to what I'm saying. But now when I walk in that room, that makes me feel uncomfortable. And I've gotten myself to where I just don't want to be in those situations anymore. Just like, certain, like when I'm listening to music or watching a show, or even a lot of times like Facebook videos, if one pops up and somebody's just cussing, to me, it's uncomfortable now, and I swipe past it. Like, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to be part of it. And, it's not anything against whoever that video was or anything. It's just, that's not what I want to listen to. And I don't appreciate, I don't appreciate that for myself. Same thing with music now. There's a lot of music that I just can't listen to. And, there's movies that used to be some of my favorite movies that I couldn't watch now. Or some of my favorite TV shows that I couldn't watch now, because stuff like that makes me feel uncomfortable now. And that's just the conviction that, God has put on me in my heart, that when I hear that stuff or think of that stuff, it makes me feel uncomfortable, and I want to remove myself from that situation. And I've really noticed in the past, let's say 5-6 months, that this has really became a big part of what I do. Because, even 6 months ago, the language I used was not good at all. It was not where I'm at now. And I'm not saying I don't now. I'm not saying I'm a perfect person. I'm far, far from perfect. That's one thing I can promise you, is I'm far from perfect. I'm going to mess up a lot. There's lots of things that I need to work on, lots of things that I have worked on a lot. Trying to read my Bible is one of the things that I've worked on a lot, to where I try to, sit down at least 3 or 4 times a week and just read my Bible. Because it's those things like that. If you start going to church, you surround yourself with people that are, born again Christians, that are, a big part of the church, that play a role. I'm not saying they have to be deacons or something like that, but somebody that plays a role, like shows up to church to help out at events, or maybe they help to clean the church, or just anything like that. somebody that's, not just somebody that comes on Sunday mornings. Somebody that is actually a part of the church. If you surround yourself with those type people, that is going to start helping you become the person you need to be just by surrounding yourself with good people. And if you start paying attention to what you're watching or what you're listening to, that can also change a big part of what you do. Because if you have people around you drinking and cussing, that's about the same as if you're watching a show and they're cussing and drinking and partying and all that stuff. That stuff is going to be on your mind. And what goes into your eyes is in your mind. What goes into your ears is on your mind. And that stuff will influence who you are. And, I've tried my best, and it's an everyday struggle to try to get over certain things. Like I've said, I am very short-tempered. I have a short anger problem, and I've never had really an anger problem with people. It's things. Like if I'm trying to do something, like say I'm trying to build something or take something apart or something, and it's not working, those are the things that I have short anger tendencies for, that I have tried working on really hard. And so, like, my anger, the language I use, those are like some of the top things that I've worked on the most, that I think about every day and I struggle with every day. And just trying to be a better person, a better man in general. Trying to be a better husband, a better father, trying to be the role model I need to be for my kids, and trying to step up at church and be a guide in the church, of somebody that people can look up to, like, and a lot of times you might not notice that people are watching you, but when it's even like this podcast, in my mind, I do this podcast because I enjoy it, and it kind of helps me out being able to talk about things. And then when I go to a convention, or I have someone message me saying that they listened to the podcast, they really enjoyed it, this is what they got out of it or whatever, that means a lot to me. And that's something like, I don't know, it's like you don't notice people listening or watching you, but then when you hear somebody come up to you and say, hey, thank you for this, that really means a lot, because it's like I didn't even notice this person was watching or listening or paying attention to what I was doing. So for them to come up and thank me for that, that means a lot. And it's like I've tried to tell people, if you're talking about sins, there could be something that I do that could be a sin for me, but maybe it's not a sin for you. Or there could be something that you do that's a sin for you, but it's not a sin for me. So, like, if, I use my phone for work, and I'm on my phone a lot for work, that's not necessarily a sin. But if you're spending, 2 or 3 hours on your phone watching YouTube videos and Facebook videos and talking with people, and you're doing that instead of talking to your family or watching a movie with your family or playing with your kids, that is a sin, because you're putting that phone, that device, above your family. And yes, I have struggled with that before. But like I said, that's something that's not necessarily a sin for me, but it could be for you. And, it's the same thing with like sports. If I go play golf or something, that's not necessarily a sin for me to go play golf. But if you go play golf 2 or 3 times a week, and you're putting that before, God, before your family, before whatever, then that's where that becomes a sin. Is when you're putting your focus in that before everything else. That's when that becomes a sin. So, kind of like, it's not a sin for me, but it could be a sin for you. And when people think about sins, they want to put them in the order of, they want to put them on a list of, bad sins, not so bad sins. Like, murder is a huge sin. Telling a small little lie, that's not a big sin. To Jesus, every sin is the same. And, we should ask forgiveness for everything. You can't, it's hard not to look at a murderer or a pedophile or something like that different than you would somebody that, stole a candy bar. But in God's eyes, those are the same sins. One's not greater than the other. They're the same. And, when I come back to people saying they can't go into a church because the walls will fall down or, something like that, they'll get struck by lightning. Those are just excuses. Those are sayings that people use. I promise you, there's people in that church that have gone through a lot of the same things you have. And maybe they've done the same things. Maybe they come from pretty much the same background that you do. And you don't know that because and this is what I tell people. People say the people in the church are the first to judge. If I walk in with tattoos, they're going to judge me because I have tattoos. Well, in turn, you're also judging them by saying that. Because in your mind, you've already put them people above you just because they're in church. When in reality, that don't mean nothing. They're people just like you are, just like I am. And, in the Bible it says thou shalt not judge. But you do have to judge at a certain point because you have to be very careful with who you spend your time around. You have to be very careful with, false idols and what you listen to, what you believe. Because I can tell you right now, there's a lot of false idols out there. And there's a lot of people that use the Bible to their own benefit, and they twist words, and they make people believe things they're saying that are not true. You have to study your Bible, and you have to know your Bible so you can spot when people are not telling the truth. If you're listening to a pastor and he's saying something that is not what the Bible says, that's, you shouldn't be at that church. You shouldn't be listening to that preacher. So I would definitely say you need to find yourself a church that is a Bible-believing church, that is a Bible-teaching church. A New Testament church also. Not an Old Testament church because, that's a whole nother thing that we'll get into maybe on another episode. But there are churches out there because a church would say most people would see a church as is a building with a cross or a steeple or something like that on with a preacher. That's what people see as the church. Well, that is not a church. That is a building. A church is the people that make up the building, the people inside the building. That is the church. You could take 60 people or 100 people or 10,000 people and put them in a field and have them study the Bible or sing hymns and worship unto the Lord. That is your church. They don't need a building. They don't need a roof. They don't need any of that. Do we appreciate having a building to go into? So when it's raining, we're not getting wet. When it's cold, we're warm. When it's hot, we're cool. Yes, we really appreciate that building being there. But that building is not the church. The people inside that building are the church. They're what makes up the church. And, there's... I don't know. Well, I'll get into more of that on another episode. But what I would really like to challenge people this week, and I'm not sure when I'll get another podcast episode in, because I'm not going to be trying to run on a certain schedule. When I have time, I'm going to do a podcast and it'll upload. There might be months where I get one done, and there might be months where I get 4 or 5 done. I really appreciate you guys listening, and I hope things that, I can say, I pray every time I do one of these, that things, that God uses words coming out of my mouth that can help people with whatever struggles they may be going through right now. And, one of the big things that I've noticed a lot in the world right now, and I won't say I've just noticed it right now, I've seen it for a long time, but as I grow my life closer to Jesus and I read my Bible and I study my Bible, I see how far the world has gotten from God. And it is a very scary thing to see and to notice. And there's a podcast that I listen to now. Every time I'm building poles, I listen to it now, and it's called The Duck Room. And The Duck Room is some of the guys from Duck Dynasty, and they do it. It's, Martin, Uncle Si, and they always, have a few different guests on, and it's just I like watching it because, it's things that are going on today, things that are going on in their life, and things that are, getting to hear about God. When they do, they go do a lot of, they go to prisons and, speak at prisons and spread the Bible and all that, and just being able to listen to that is really cool. So I would highly suggest looking up The Duck Call Room. I usually watch it on YouTube, but I do know it's available wherever you guys listen to your podcast. But The Duck Call Room I would very, very highly recommend listening to that. But also, with last week, we had a very important day happen, Election Day. And, I'm a Christian, I'm a trapper, so it's probably pretty obvious that who I was voting for. And if it's not obvious to you, I voted for Donald Trump. I have voted for him ever since I was 18. And I am very, very hopeful that things will start changing in our country for the better. And it's like I've told people, I'm only 30 years old, so I've not seen a lot of the politicians or presidents or anything from, the 90s, the 80s. I've not seen that or witnessed it. But from what I've seen, Donald Trump's not a perfect man. There's things that I like about him. There's things I don't like about him. Things I don't agree with. Things I do. For the most part, I agree with what he says, what he stands for, what he plans on doing. But one of the biggest things that I've heard that has stuck in my mind was a commercial that I watched. It's probably been a month ago. He had done a commercial and was telling people that they needed to buy a Bible, they needed to read the Bible, and they needed to study the Bible. I've never heard any kind of politician or anybody with a very high up seat like the president or something like that say anything like that before. I seen a video just this morning where he was talking about public schools and what his plans are for the public schools. And one of the top 10 things he said is bringing prayer back into the schools. And I think that is a huge thing, because I don't think most people understand how close we were to losing a lot of our freedom and a lot of our rights. You know, our freedom to read the Bible and to preach the Bible here in America, a lot of us take things like that for granted. There's a lot of countries that it's against the law to own a Bible. And I don't think a lot of people realize how close we was to that coming here. You know, it's very possible that one day there'll come a time where here in the United States we cannot read the Bible or we cannot preach the Bible without, you know, quote unquote breaking the law. And, you know, I pray every day that God uses Trump, J.D. Vance, all Elon Musk, uses all these people to help bring our country back closer to God, to where we can start putting God first again. Because that will be the first step of changing our nation and improving it. And another thing that I've seen that I'm really, really excited about is, if I get the name wrong, I apologize, but I think it's Robert Kennedy Jr., I think is who was running for president and then backed out of the race to support Trump. But he's going to be, I can't remember the title of it exactly, but in charge of the food and the FDA and stuff like that. I'm very excited to see how things change with that, because I've seen a few like posts on Facebook, you know, where somebody had found a, you know, bag of chips or some kind of boxed food or something from the, you know, early 90s, and then the exact same one from today. And the ingredients on the back, the one from the 90s would have like 5 ingredients, and the one today has like 16 ingredients. And, you know, if you take like a Mountain Dew or a chip or something from England, and you take the same exact name brand from here, they are made with different ingredients. You know, why is that? Why do we use ingredients and stuff that other countries have found illegal? They've banned those ingredients to be used in food, but we allow it. Those are things that, you know, I'm excited to see what happens with that. Because, you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, or I guess you could say I'm a conspiracy theorist, because there are things that I know that are not what the TV tells you. I know they're different than what the TV tells you. But there's things with like Red 40 and all that stuff that I've never really noticed until, you know, me and my wife talked about this a lot the last 6 to 8 months, that we're want to stop buying stuff with that in it, because the way our kids have kind of, the way they act sometimes, you know. There's been studies about like Red 40, and if your kid has a lot of that, how it can cause them to have anger outbursts and all kinds of stuff. And another thing that I heard was talking about how a lot of the ingredients we allow in foods and drinks and stuff now have been linked to cancer, and how the reason why our cancer numbers have grown so much is due to a lot of the food or the ingredients they allow in food and stuff. So I'm kind of interested in seeing a lot of that. But anyway, I think I'm going to end the podcast right here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Like I said, this one was more, I guess, more about my faith and the struggles I'm going through. Like I said, I hope something that I've said can help you out with maybe a problem or struggle you're going through. You know, feel free to reach out to me, email, messenger, any of that stuff. I would love to hear from you guys. And I really hope that somehow this helps somebody. If something I've said can help one person, this is all worth it for me. But anyway, I appreciate it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not exactly sure when I'll have another podcast out. I'll try for next week, but I do know I'll be trying to start my trapping line next week, so we'll see how busy I get with that and everything else I'm doing. But anyway, I appreciate you all. And I'm going to close this out with a prayer. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. And hope you all have tight chains on your trap lines. And thank you for listening. Lord, I want to thank you for allowing me to do this podcast. And I just want to thank you for all the things that you've laid on my life, Lord. And I just really, really appreciate all the opportunities that you've placed in my life, Lord, with having the amazing family that I do. And just, it's hard to put into words how much I want to thank you, Lord. And Lord, I want to ask you to be with all the people that listen to this podcast, that you can help guide them and help put peace in their heart with any struggles they're going through, or any difficulties, or any sicknesses that are going through their families or through them. Lord, just please be with them and help keep them safe. And Lord, I want to ask you to really, really lay your hands on this nation and to be with us, as our nation is in a very, very hard time right now. And just please be with all the lost souls, Lord, that you can place somebody in their life to help turn them around, that they can get to know you, Lord. In Jesus' name I ask. Amen.